We're now going to use the staff just for balance, a little extra stability. We're going to go into our 6 walks. This is a great drill for rebuilding the springy nature of our feet, which most people lose, especially with a lot of the shoes that we tend to wear. Our step is going to go lightly out away from the body, and we are only landing on the ball of the big toe. The ball of the pinky toe side is off the floor and the heel is completely off the floor. I'm going to load into the ball of the foot lightly and allow the knee to track internally lightly. So the knee tracks light inside, and then we're going to unload. You can keep the foot in contact and just add a little body weight and then press out, keeping the foot in contact with the floor. Especially if the foot feels unstable, I want to make sure that we are staying in a safe position. If you're able to, I want to let that spring load the spring and unload the spring. So we're kind of inhale as you load, exhale as you unload. And I want to see if you can feel that spring as we load into the ball of the foot. Can you feel it activate into the arch of the foot? A little bit of a stretch as we load and unload. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So again, foot comes out wide, knee turns in lightly as we load just on the ball of the big toe. Heel does not touch, outside ball of the foot does not touch. We're only placing just on that ball of the big toe pad of the foot. This is a great place on each of these to notice the difference of how it feels on the right foot compared to the left foot, because that's going to be incredibly relevant to how your glutes are functioning. If one foot is stiffer than the other foot, if one foot is more sensitive and painful, I guarantee there's going to be some relationships into the glutes. Switching back to the first foot, we're now going to, still stepping out away from the body, we're now going to place on the outside ball of the foot. So the big toe ball of the foot is now off the floor, heel is still off the floor. Same idea, now the knee is going to lightly track out and away from the body. Lightly load and unload. Feel some of that weight on the foot and then unload that weight. See if you can start to feel the springy nature of the foot. If you're able to let that foot come off lightly and let it load and unload, as long as that feels safe, I want to make sure that we're not in a situation where we're going to roll that ankle. That would not be good. Again, inhale as we load, exhale as we unload. And then we'll switch and do the same thing on the other side. Again, knee tracks out. Notice if it feels a little different on this side. Is it stiffer? Is it a little achier? Do you notice any sensitivity in the knee, hip, or low back on any of these? I want to stay aware and not just be oblivious to the rest of the body. What's happening at the foot is going to reflect elsewhere. So if you got knee pain, hip pain, back pain, those are things that we want to talk about. We're now going to switch back to the first foot. We're going to come back to the exact same starting point on the inside ball of the foot. So outside ball and heel are off the ground to start with. But now as we load, we're going to let the heel come into contact with the floor and then release the heel and then release the ball of the foot last. Knee is tracking internally again. Very light. Again, it's unload and load and unload. Allow the heel to touch and then immediately unload. You may feel this a little bit more in that medial arch of the foot, especially if it's tight. So I want to stay, again, we're staying light and juicy and we're not being forceful here. And after 5 to 10, we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Again, knee tracks internal. Feel the ball of the foot hit the ground first, then the heel, and heel lifts first, and then the ball of the foot. And again, I want to kind of see if we can feel that spring-like action. Can you feel it? Load the spring and unload the spring. and feel it kind of propel you off through the ball of the foot. We're going to switch to the other side, and now I got foot's a little bit more, not quite out so much, it's a little bit more straight out in front. And we're going to roll as much as we can onto the outside blade of the foot. So I'm trying as much as you can. Now, if you have history of ankle sprains, this may be a really sensitive position. So I want to make sure that we're not going into a position that feels unstable in which you're going to fall. So again, part of the reason we got the staff is so that we have extra support. If you got a chair or a couch around you, that's great too. So as we get on that outside blade of the foot, I want to try to keep the heel off the ground. Just that outside edge of the heel not touching. Just the forefoot, midfoot and forefoot blade or a lateral edge of the foot. Knee is going to track out again. This one I want to be light on, so we're just going to load and unload. Again, the foot can start out being in contact with the floor to make sure that this feels safe. And we're just placing just enough pressure on that body weight on that foot that we feel safe with it. If that feels pretty solid, we can start to load and then unload the foot. Again, feel for more of that spring-like action. But I don't want to put so much weight into this that you feel like you're going to roll your ankle. That would be the opposite of what we're seeking here. This particular load and unload is great for rebuilding the stability of the ligaments in the ankle. And we'll switch and do the same thing on the other side. So let that foot come out in front, lightly roll into it. Heel stays off again, and we're just lightly putting pressure in and taking it off to make sure that that ankle feels safe. As it feels safe, you can slowly start applying a little bit more and seeing if you can find that spring-like action. Can you load that blade and then unload it? And how does it feel different on this side? Does one side feel stiffer, tighter, achier, less springy than the other side? Again, that's going to be real important when we come back up and we're looking at our glute function. We got 2 more in our 6 walks. Now we're going to get where our step's going to come out more in front. We're going to start by, I only want to load the inside part of the heel. So my step is actually going to come out just a little bit, and I want to track the knee internally. We're still looking for that spring, but stepping on the heel is not very spring-like, so it's not going to feel quite as spring-like. But again, I want to load and unload, load and unload. And again, pay attention to how does this feel in the heel? How does it feel in the knee? How does it feel in the hip and the low back? I have a little bit of sensitivity on the medial knee on my right knee. This knee I've had 5 surgeries on, and so this is an area where I tend to get some discomfort. So got to stay light on it, and we don't want to be moving into pain. Switching to the other side, same thing. Inside heel, letting that knee lightly track internally and then unloading it. And trying to find as close to a spring as we can on our heel. Again, notice the difference of how it feels on one side compared to the other. My right side felt more spring-like even though I had some sensitivity in the knee. This left side is feels really, there is very little spring taking place. For the last one, switching back, now we're going to step across a little bit, right at the midline or across the midline, and turning the foot so the ball of the foot's facing away. Knee is going to lightly track out again. And again, this is a light load and unload. And again, seeing if you can kind of find that springy nature of that foot. This is kind of like when you're taking a walk, when you're walking, this is just that nice stride, generally where your foot should be striking the ground at the initiation of a gait of your step. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. Again, have that foot nice and turned out, landing on the outside edge of the heel. Knee is lightly tracking out and away.